What's up, friends, and welcome to another episode of Useless Information. I, of course, am Dick, and with me, as always, is my great friend from the Conference Call podcast, Danny B. What's up, dude?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Doing good. Just enjoying the view, enjoying my view. It's beautiful out here.
Dude, if you're not following the mind of Dick, this is like, we're just going to like do selfless, shameless promotions right now. But if you're not following us on Instagram and you're not following us on our podcast platforms, at least do that on Instagram so you can see his beautiful picture of the scenery that he has set up for us for this podcast. And then I went into my dungeon of a studio. I'm like, all right, this is nothing. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, well,
so
you have your
it.
aesthetic, and yeah, you have your aesthetic. I have mine, and I'm into nature. I'm trying to do something different with my life, and I'm a city boy and desert rat. Trying to look at these beautiful mountains and stuff. It's just great.
Does that come with age? Because I feel the same way.
I think so. I think as I got older, because I spent a lot of time in cities, going down to LA when we lived in like LA, watching bands, doing stuff like that. And I feel like now I'm so old that I'm like, I just want to get out of the city. And that's why I chose this apartment, because it's just kind of middle of nowhere. It's in Payson, Utah. And I got the mountains as my back view. And it's just like, and there's farms and mountains, and I love it. It's just the whole vibe is so amazing out here.
Utah was beautiful when we went and passed through there when we were going to Montana. And still to this day, it's where they had the skiing part of the Olympics. We were in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yep.
So we, till to this day, it's been like 4 years when we went on this vacation. The Walmart at Utah, I was like, oh my God, everything is so clean. It's so organized. People are
Yeah.
so nice. I'm like, babe, you can eat your food off this floor. It's so clean.
Yeah.
I'm like where we grew up, like Walmarts look like Ross's. And if you don't know what that means like shit was thrown everywhere. Like no one cared.
Yeah. Yeah. So like a LA Walmart is so different than a Utah Walmart. Like seems like they actually care out here, and people are nice. They say hi to you and stuff like that. And people think like, oh, they're all judgy and stuff like that. Some are, the older ones are, but for the most part, people are super nice, especially out here. It's a small town vibe. And there's a Walmart super center, and you go in there and everybody's like, hey, how you doing? And it's crazy. I love it out here.
Some people, if you get offended by this statement right here, just don't. I want you to know that when we were passing through there, being born in California, didn't really venture outside of that besides Mexico and like Vegas and stuff like that. When you have an overpopulated state, everything's crammed together, people. When you have openness and less people seems like the stress level is way lower. You're driving.
I agree.
You're going to your job stress free. You're not taking an hour and a half to get 5 miles to your job. That's weighted stress. And when you go out to these big states, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It truly is. At least go visit it and try it and be like, you guys have something going on over there.
Oh yeah, that's what we did when we moved out here. We visited my sister who lived out here, and I fell in love with the mountains and was just like, I got to move here. So a few months later, I did. So I did go back to LA for a few years, and then I had to get out of LA. I was done, and I said I'm going back to Utah. I love it there. So I'm here forever now. I love it here.
That's awesome, man. Well, at least since when I moved to Montana, we're gonna be pretty close, bud.
Heck yeah, we're thinking about possibly Montana too. So maybe we'll be neighbors, even though it's a big state. But I'm just trying to get away from snow. Like that's the only thing
you're going
about
to the
here.
wrong place, then, my friend.
I know Montana's worse. So it snows a lot here, but I'm like, it snows so much here. But I'm like, let's go to Montana. It's beautiful there, yeah, but it snows more. I'm trying to get out of the snow. So, but yeah, I'm thinking about Montana too. Seems like it's one of the last free states. So I'm thinking about it.
Come on, California, you could get your shit together. You'd be the best state in the world if you made it livable.
Yeah. They've really ruined that state. It's so beautiful. The weather's so nice, and you got the ocean, and they just kind of ruining that state. Yeah. I still have hope, though. I still have hope for California. That's still my home.
So do we, man. We're hoping that things will change before we decide, like, all right, we are going to go to Montana and I think no matter what, we're going to buy some sort of property in Montana. So we just have that like getaway if we do reside in California any longer than what we need to. But Man, my lady told me for years, she's like, wait till you go to Montana. It's just going to blow your mind. I'm like, whatever, big skies,
Yeah, I
blah, blah,
keep
blah.
hearing that. I
Dude,
keep hearing that.
as soon as you cross into Montana and like where I was at, dude, as soon as you just popped out of these two mountains that were like on left and right side of you, it just went into big sky. And you're like, holy shit. Everything around you was completely green, all trees, and you thought it was a painting. I was like, this is unbelievable. The air tastes different, people. It really does.
It really does. Yeah.
Because of all the greenery, like you guys don't really realize how much trees make a big difference in the air. It truly does, people. Use this
really
information. Go out to the forest.
Yeah.
Why do people feel so much better coming back from like, a camping trip when they're just out in like the forest for like 3 days and they come back to this smoggy city and they're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, I got a story real quick about that. Is like I had my daughters for a little while. It was probably like 2 months, and last summer, and when we flew back to LA, one of my daughters was like, "Oh my God, it stinks here." And I was like, "You're back in the city." She's like, she's like, "It smells so much better in Utah." I was like, "I know it does," but it's the trees, man. It's the nature. It's the trees, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful
really,
here.
people, we take it for granted, and then once you leave the city and then you go and do the nature stuff for a while, you're like, oh man, I really miss all this shit I did in the city and all this, all the accessibility that was right there. But everything comes with a price, people. So me and this guy are going to be suffering in Montana in the snow, which he thinks he's going to avoid and he's not.
Nah, I'm not going to avoid it. But I'm just going to get me some horses and get me a cowboy hat, wear some overalls. A piece of straw in my mouth and be hillbilly Dick. That's what I'm going to be doing.
That name is so spot on, dude. I hope you didn't think about that up until this one point right now, because that was epic.
I just thought of it off the top of the dome from the
hillbilly Dick. That is something you should have on a wooden plaque in your front door, dude. That's so great.
Well, copyright that shit. Copyright that shit. Yeah. It's my country name when I start doing country albums. It's my country name.
Oh my gosh, dude. He's doing bluegrass and shit, dude. Hillbilly Dick's the album.
Gonna play a fucking banjo, dude.
Steve Martin is a really good banjo player.
I heard that. I seen him do that in some stand up in like the 80s. He's playing banjo.
I listened to his book where he was actually, reading his book and he was doing banjo in the background. It's like, this guy is ultra talented, like way more than his book is fantastic anyway. So it's like, I must have read that like probably 10 years ago. It was awesome. And he's just playing his banjo, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, banjo's hard, people. Like guitars, like you can get away by being a shitty guitar player. You can't get away with being a shitty banjo player. You just cannot.
Right. Yeah. I'm proof that you can get away with being a shitty guitar player and make shit sound good.
Dude, don't say that. Dude, I'm in the same boat where I'm just like, first off, you're not a shitty guitar player. You write good music. That's one thing.
Thank
you write good music, and that's what's important right now. Like I'm listening to Billie Eilish right now. I'm like, I never liked her music up until this one song that she produced with her brother. And I go, she's awesome. She's awesome. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much.
Right.
So it's entertainment. It
is.
I think after, we were kind of like talking about this before we got onto this podcast. Like I was about our list that we were going to tell you at the end of the podcast. And I was talking to one of my buddies last night about this list, and he is just heavily deep into musicianship. He knows history. He's a great musician. I look up to this guy when it comes down to like his opinion. And, dude, I was telling him like, you know what? There's a difference between people that play music that are pretty much consumers of music. And there's musicians that play it that are fucking musicians, Right. And talking to him last night, it really kind of threw my list all over the place. But there's really a difference, people. Like there's musicians out there that are like passionate about music, and like they want to have the same feels that you guys are in the audience. And there's some people that are just that professional to the point where it's more of a business, like music's a business, and they have to be perfect because of all the knowledge that they've consumed their entire life. And that's what I got last night. And I was just like, oh, that was like an epiphany. I'm like, yep, I'm just a consumer and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be a great musician. I don't expect to. I just want to be in the fields.
Yeah, and the reason I like to record music and play music, it's not like, oh, I'm trying to be famous and make millions of dollars and go hang out with Diddy and do
Oh,
stuff like
you
that. Like,
fucker.
I'm not trying to do that shit. It's for the feels, right? It's for like for myself. Like, I'll put out a song and just be like, hey guys, look, I made a song, and like three people will love it, but it's like, those three people are like us. They're musicians. They're like, wow, this guy put out a song, awesome. And for the regular person, it's like not super important. It's like, so what? But I do it because it's like the passion inside my soul that I just have to play music. There's just so much music in me that I just want to like put it out there. And I don't care who, I mean, I want people to hear it, but I don't care if nobody wants to hear it. I just want to put it out because that's in my DNA. I feel
Right.
like I have to do it. And I'm not trying to impress anybody with it. It's just I have to do it, or like it consumes my brain. Like, oh, I gotta, like I was talking about on my podcast, was like I want to do reggae because it's like consuming my soul right now. If I don't get it right, I'm gonna not be able to live with myself until I can at least write one reggae song and record it, because
Right.
it's just the way I am. It's passion. It's just passion about music.
That's how I feel about this one and done I keep talking about. I want to do just something and put it out. Like exactly what you said. Like, it doesn't matter if nobody hears it. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be there for if someone does hear it, cool. Like, oh shit, he wrote this, that's awesome. Or it's not
Yeah,
good. It's not I think that's like the really, I don't know, man. I don't want to say like we're not like professionals, because we do take what we do like right and what we do put on podcasts. We do take it seriously, and we do not want to put out like shitty product, but there's a certain level where like, what, we know where we stand, where it comes down to like, what, we're very satisfied with what we are putting out into this world of just like ultimate unlimitedness of people just diving their whole lives into this. And I think we're safe to say we can't do that now. We can't invest that time like we could have in the 20s and stuff.
right. Yeah, we got jobs and families and shit. So
Yeah.
and the main thing I'm trying to do is like I'm trying just to learn how to get better at it. I don't want it to be perfect right now. And I think we talked about this on the one we did a while ago, where it's like it's kind of shitty. Like when I put that first song out, it's like kind of a shitty recording. I got it done, and that's all I really wanted to do. And now I'm trying to kind of perfect, I guess not perfect it, but just get better and better at it every song I do, and learn. And I've been doing this shit for a really long time, and I still suck at it. And I just want to get really, really good at it. And I don't want to make money on it, nothing like that. I just want to be good at it because, like I said, it's just all I ever think about. It's like music is all I ever think about. I'm singing while we're talking right now. I'm singing songs in my head. It's like, so I want to just get better at it, right? Like I want to get better at recording music and playing music. And been playing guitar for 30 plus years, and I still am terrible, but I know how to like put a song together. I know how to structure a song. So it's like I want to do that. I want to get better at it. And that's why I've been doing it, and to break that whole writer's block that I've had. Like you were saying, you have two. It's like, why not record songs you already know, that you've known for a million years? And that's kind of breaking the writer's block. I've been actually putting together a bunch of good songs. So hopefully I can get those, with the limited time I have, get those songs done. So I got to break the ADHD, sitting there not doing anything and doom scrolling and then saying, I got to get this done, and then not doing it. So that's the hard part, but eventually I'll get those done. So it's broken my writer's block, which is good, I think that's something you should try, is maybe try to record something you already know, even if it's a cover, try to do something, and then break that writer's block and then get that one and done. You got to get that done. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm about it, dude. And I had my equipment set up yesterday to play, and then I started doing all this research about our topic today, and I listened to like a 6-7 part podcast about this individual, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to talk to you about all what I about this topic and stuff, but it's like it just trickles down into so many different things we can talk about. And it's like I got so engulfed with that, and I'm watching this documentary that I'm trying to finish up because I have to watch the Menendez one this weekend so I could talk to my daughter that wants to talk to me about the conspiracy behind that shit. It's like
Right.
we're so limited at what we can do, and I know people are probably like, what? Well, you're going to spend your time fucking watching TV. This is content, people. And I'm curious.
This is content. Yes.
And
Yeah.
the human mind and how people treat one another is just, it blows me away. I've talked about this before, and we've talked about it. It's just how people treat one another is like, especially if we're so the opposite. It's weird. It's not like politics. Like when people do fucked up shit, like Diddy, it's like people don't think like they don't dive too deep into it when it comes down like, is this like unlimited power? Is this what people act like with unlimited amount of resources where the abnormal becomes normal to them? I don't know, but it's, it's just interesting topics. When I was listening to this, it's like, oh my God, this is exactly what this fool did, what Diddy did. So,
Yeah.
whenever you want to get into it, man, I'm like,
No, go ahead. You know what? Go ahead. Go start it off. Let's get
so,
started with this day in history.
so,
I'm looking forward to it.
so in 2017, you may know him at 91 years old. Playboy founder Hugh Marston Hefner dies from from a cardiac arrest. But this was the craziest thing. I know you all know who Hugh Hefner is. And you probably didn't even know that he died from a cardiac arrest because for the longest time, it was unknown. Like it wasn't documented anywhere. You couldn't find anything about it up until like a year ago. So he died.
Really?
Yeah. So he died from a blood infection called septicemia and a bad case of E. coli. So pretty much,
Wow.
yeah. And the crazy thing about how bad the E. coli was, the antibiotics was resistant to it. That's how bad it was.
Damn.
And when I read this, I was like, does this have to, okay, well, let me tell you what septicemia is. I had to learn how to say septicemia a long time through YouTube. So I didn't butcher it. So, or sepsis, that's what it's known, or blood poisoning is a life-threatening infection that occurs when bacteria, viruses, or fungi enter the bloodstream and spread. It's the body's most extreme response to an infection and can lead to organ failure and death if not treated immediately. Everybody knows what E. coli is, but I just wanted to like point it out that E. coli is a group of bacteria that cause infections in the gut or urinary tract and other parts of the body. Most of the time, it can live in your gut without hurting you, but some strains can make you sick with watery diarrhea, vomiting, and fever, which all he had up until his death. So I was like, before I read all this, when I read what he died from, I was like, oh man, he had a bad case of E. coli and all this. I was like, well, maybe it was just all the sex he was doing. And then when I looked into into what septicemia was, and then like looked more into E. coli, and I listened to this 6-hour podcast about it. This guy ate fried chicken and fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in his bed with the ladies that he was banging.
Jeez.
Like, he never went outside the mansion up until like pretty much the day he died. He only did events. He never went out and did restaurants. He never socialized up until like a certain point where he stopped, doing the clubs and stuff. He never left the mansion. So this guy just brutalized his body with like uppers, downers to keep like the magazine going, all the creativity going, the sex, the madness, everything. He lived like a piece of shit, people. Like it's crazy. Like millions of dollars does not make the poor come out of you. You're still gonna like.
I just thought he like honestly thought he just overdosed on like the blue boner pills or something.
No,
you
man.
know, being
That's what I thought.
like,
But 91 years old, dude. Like this guy was in World War II.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, like what starts this whole thing off is there is a thing called the Hef myth, the myth of Hugh Hefner, where people think that how Playboy started was when his wife cheated on him while he was at war. And he's like, I listened to an interview with him and he's like, I thought marriage and love was supposed to be this fantasy and magical thing. And I found out that it was the complete opposite. Whether that was the reason why he just started, exploring his sexual freedom, we'll never know. But one thing I keep telling my daughter and I keep telling people on my show is that all it takes is a reason. And all it takes is a reason for somebody else to believe in that person's reason. So if that was the reason, like this person cheated on me, I'm never going to be in a relationship unless it's under my terms and blah, blah, blah. And that just could be it. You know, that could have started it, which
Yeah.
I thought was really fascinating to hear about that. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
intriguing to me, but he, he ended up working in publishing for Esquire. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So he worked for Esquire, got all this experience. He had no experience. He went to war, went to college, and then started working for Esquire. So he thought the direction was going crappy, and then he decided to go and start his own magazine. Dude, he got bank loans from everybody. He even took a loan out from his own mother to start this fucking thing, dude. I was like, your own mother? She probably doesn't even know what you're going to put on this fucking thing. Shame on you. You know?
Yeah.
So she's like, here's my money. Here's my money, son. Do your thing. And it's just like, blow. Here it is. You know, but whoever thought that that would be like the success that it is, you know, even to this day.
Right.
All right. Okay. Let me do my Ace Ventura. I'm getting through the people. We're getting through there. We're getting through it.
Alrighty then.
Which, by the way, we watched that movie, the first Ace Ventura. People, I'm telling you, comedy is just not what it used to be. That movie, I was hurting, laughing so hard. Like, there's some shit that you cannot say anymore, like some racy shit that Ace Ventura said, or Jim Carrey said. And there's scenes in there where he's like drugging football players to see if they like stole like something. Like, you know, if you haven't seen Ace Ventura, please just get out from your rock and go watch it. It's one of the best comedy movies of all time. But there's some things in there. It's like, oh, it was hilarious. Okay, sorry, I'm going crazy. But he gets all this investors. Is Madre. He drops the first episode or the first issue, December 1st, 1953. Do you know who was on that cover?
No clue.
Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, you know what? I did know that. Yes. Yes.
Did you also know that those weren't supposed to be put on the magazine at all? One of his guys took photos of her and sent them to Hef, and he published it without her even knowing.
Oh, geez.
And she became like, boom, even like a bigger star. Like, that was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, she was unknowingly known about this shit and became a bigger star than she ever thought because of this shit. It's, to this day, I'm like, I know there's some women that look at Hugh Hefner like he's a piece of shit for what he's done. Like when he has the 3 girlfriends and all these girlfriends and all like the sex scandals and stuff like that. But I know a lot of women right now that would choose sugar daddies over working a 9-to-5 job more than not. And it's like, it's just a different era of this type of form. I feel it's like listening to this and then what I've been seeing and experiencing in life. I go, I know a lot of women that would literally leave their job, would kind of turn on their own family to have a sugar daddy or vice versa. It's really like, it's like, what's different, people? Like, what's different is that we have social media now that publicizes it and we have opinions to like sway it, you know? So yeah, so that was interesting. Sorry, dude. I don't want to go on a tangent, but pretty much.
I'm listening. I'm enjoying. I was just thinking like, hey, I wouldn't mind having a sugar mama.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, who doesn't want to not struggle and wake up like, oh, yeah. What time is it? It's 10:30 in the morning. Fuck yeah. I'm going to go have some eggs and bakey, you know? It's like, you know, mama's been at work since 2 a.m. She won't get back till like 3 a.m. the following day. We're good. You know, it's like, I get that now more than ever. And sometimes like when I was dealing with it, where I was dating women that were like that, it irked the shit out of me because no matter what we did, it just wasn't enough, you know?
Yeah.
And I get that. I get it now. And I don't strive to be that person because everything comes with a price, people. Sugar mama, really sugar daddy, it comes with the price.
Yeah. I'd rather just be in love and be happy than like have than yeah, I'd rather struggle and be super happy than just have everything I want as far as financially and be miserable in my relationship. So sugar mama sounds great, but I'd rather be in love, you know. So
It's an age thing too. I mean, if you're in your
yeah,
20s, you're single, no kids, and a sugar mama comes up to you, a guy's going to do that.
hell
Woman,
yeah, yeah,
obviously, it's a different story. But I know a woman that is married to somebody 18 years older than her, and they've been married for almost 10 years, but she's happy, but she sacrificed a lot, and she won't
yeah.
admit it, but that's the underbelly about these agreements that no one knows about. Diddy. So okay, so it
We're
just
bouncing around the Diddy shit today. We know
so
we're gonna get into it. We have to.
so the first issue was published in 53. The last one was published in 2020, right when the pandemic was happening, and actually went digital, where they went like, you can buy your Playboy online and just flip through pages online. It's not the same nostalgia, dude. It truly is
No,
not.
no, the whole centerfold. When it comes to Playboy, I was never into that kind of stuff. I mean, when I was a teenager, my dad had stacks of them. I mean, he had so many. And yeah, I'd go sneak them and everything when I was a teenager, stuff like that. But I never went to stores and bought Playboys to look at myself. So I just stole them from my dad when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then when I actually was, having sex with actual women, it's like, I don't want to look at that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Well, what'd you need it for?
Yeah. What do you need it for? But I mean, but that Playboy always reminds me of like my dad having like literally 50, 60 of them, like in stacks in his bedroom, and me being able to just go in there, and he would just say, hey, anytime you want to look at them, go ahead. I don't care. I'm 15, 16 years old doing that. So, but and I read the articles, that's what I wanted to look at them for. It wasn't for the naked women or anything like that.
Yeah, if you were looking at Playboy for the women and not the intriguing articles, you had a problem, people.
You definitely had a problem.
So Hugh Hefner, you guys probably all know him. He was on a TV show with his three girlfriends called The Girls Next Door. That actually aired in August of 2005 and lasted 6 seasons to 2009, and actually had 2 sets of girlfriends, which I didn't know. I thought it was just the 3 main ones: Kendall, Bridget, and Holly. I'm telling you, people, I don't have that in my notes. I remember those bitches' name off the top of my head. That was crazy.
That's bad.
So because Kendall was a San Diego Charger fan, and I saw her Rassy Playboy issue, and I can still picture her in her jersey. Oh, it's so fucking awesome.
Wasn't she a cheerleader too, or one of them was a cheerleader?
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Kendall was as well. But that show ended in 2009, and honestly, if you guys ever were intrigued to like dive down this rabbit hole of Hugh Hefner's life, I mean, going from the infamous grotto, like the sex scenes in from the grotto, all the different type of people that came in and out of that mansion. It's actually quite interesting, like what he established and put together and fought for, from like, women's rights to like going in through like the cannabis, rights back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, because he stopped drinking and went to like medicinal cannabis, which if you don't smoke, or if you do, more power to you. We're no one judges here. But all the different eras that this magazine survived from like I said, 53 to 2020, a magazine, and when you saw the last couple years of Playboy, you kind of felt like, ooh, they're losing their fucking edge. And like, there's beautiful women on there, but it just didn't have the same, it just didn't have the same feel anymore. It was perfect at the era that it was at, and probably should have stopped probably maybe 20, 25 years before it did.
Well, the internet like desensitized everybody with like, being able to just look at porn on the internet, Pornhub, stuff like that, just desensitized everybody. So, why would you go buy a magazine to look at it when you can just open up your laptop and it's right there? Now, these days people can just pop their phone, and look at porn there. Why would you go buy a magazine? So we just all got desensitized, and it had to get worse and worse and worse. Now we want to actually watch people fucking instead of like just looking at titties in a magazine, So that's what happened. That's why Playboy fell off, because it wasn't the same. But at the time, like you said, when it first came out, it was like racy, and everybody was like, I want this. There wasn't, Pornhub or anything like that. So, I mean, that's why it did so well. But eventually, stuff like that we're gonna get too used to seeing naked women, So like what Playboy had to offer was not important anymore.
Right.
Mm,
Right.
Yeah.
And like this guy owned clubs, he owned casinos and stuff, and there was like the bunny dip and stuff. Like there was a lot into this Playboy whole fiasco. I highly recommend anybody to go dive deep into it. But he did this. He grew up in an age where sex, like undermining women and sex with multiple women was scrutinized, but yet he glorified it in a magazine for over like almost 70 years. That
Yeah.
it's a really crazy accomplishment if you can actually look at it as an accomplishment. I know some, feminists out there are like, fuck him, fuck that. That's bullshit. But it's actually quite interesting and quite crazy when you really think about it. Most companies don't last that long. And this was a magazine. And it was a pretty
Yeah.
simple topic.
Yeah. Boobs.
Boobs. Well, you're hitting a demographic from 13 to God knows how old.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, if it's readily available, like I said, it's right there. My dad had it, and I was looking at it, but it wasn't something that I did when I got older. Not at all. It wasn't something that I got into at all after that. So I don't know how they evolved or anything like that. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, it's a great market when there's nothing like that on, out at all. He started that, and it was, cornered the market on that shit. It was like done, and made millions and millions off of boobs. So
Yeah. And then there was, if you guys don't also know, they also had Hustler and Penthouse, which made it
mhm.
which made Playboy turn from just your standard, boobs and just side butt to full frontal nudity.
Yeah,
It's like you have to keep up with the competition. And that's this crazy thing. It's like someone's like, I'm just going to throw mud flaps in front of this cover and it's going to sell. It's like, holy shit, dude, it worked.
yeah, exactly.
So that's all I got, people. And I had one honorable mention, which I wanted to talk. It kind of like tied into the whole power thing. September 27th of 1940, Germany, Italy, and Japan signed the Tripartite Pact, which means in three or a party of three, which they formed to pretty much conquer the world. They signed this like, we're going to go fuck everybody up because Germany was already doing it at the time. So he pretty much set up the ultimate basketball. Like what Germany did was what the Dodgers are doing with O'Shea Ohtani, where the fuck his name is. Like they're just stacking this. They're trying to stack this team up like this. And it's probably a bad reference because it doesn't work out in the playoffs for you guys. So I'm sorry.
Never does. Never does. And I accept it. I accept that.
I'm a Braves fan, so I'm either losing to you guys or I'm losing to the fucking Phillies. So that's what I accept every year.
Braves beat us a couple years ago, so I love the Braves too. Though I've always loved the Braves. I don't know if you remember back when we first got cable out in Lake LA. I don't know if you remember that, but we had satellites on the roof. I remember my dad getting up there and adjusting it every once in a while. Or we had not even satellites; they were antennas, And I remember we first got cable and we got like TBS, and they showed Braves games. And at that time, the Dodgers were shit, so I couldn't watch the Dodgers. They were terrible, but the Braves were really good. So that's, I would say besides the Dodgers, the Braves are one of my favorite teams just because of that. Because I would watch all the Braves games because they had great teams. They had like Maddox and Glavine and David Justice, all those
And
early
John
'90s
Smoltz.
teams. John Smoltz, yeah, those three great pitchers. They had.
But that was the one thing I was about to say to you. I hate to interrupt you, but that's exactly what I was going to say. Like I love the Braves just because of that pitching core. I can't even tell you the biggest batters there. I could probably remember if like you told me, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. But the pitchers, the Braves were the fucking heat, man. And Greg Maddox looked like a second grade math teacher. Like,
oh, he's the professor. Dude.
Yeah,
he's the professor.
There was one. Yeah, I heard a story from him where they were whooping like the White Sox ass or something like that, and like 8-1, and then Maddox had like full base setup, and he's like, I'm just gonna throw this pitch to him. I know he's expecting this, but I'm just gonna throw what he wants. So just give him what he needs, because when we play him in the playoffs, he's gonna expect this same shit, and I'm gonna throw
Yes,
something
I
different.
saw that same story.
Dude, it
Yes,
gives me goosebumps even thinking about this is how
that's
this
how
guy
smart
fucking
he
thinks.
was.
Yeah, this is how this guy's
Yes.
pre-planning the playoffs.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna throw him all this stuff so he sees it now. So this is what he's gonna prepare himself for, and then then I'm gonna throw him something completely different in the playoffs because he knows we're gonna see him in the playoffs. Yeah, that Maddox was intense, dude. We had him, Dodgers had him for a few years, and I love just to have him for those few years to watch him pitch. Just he would tear people apart.
Imagine
He would
having
just make
that
them look so
jersey.
dumb.
Imagine
Yeah,
having that jersey. Oh man, I would love
yeah.
to have. I hate every other team besides my football team, but man, there's this football player from the Bucks called Baker Mayfield. His quarterback. He's like he was like a bunch of Hulu commercials, but he's a fucking funny dude, man. And he said some shit to pop off on another team, and it's stuck in this household ever since me and my wife saw it. So I'm like, I'm getting that jersey put up, even though it's like a team I dislike. I'm getting it because that was epic.
All right.
So that's all I got, people. That was my half. Sorry it took so long.
Okay, no, that's good. So, no, that's really good. We got to talk about boobies for a little bit. That's cool. I love it. So my contribution to this day in history is in 2004. I guess you can call him legendary producer Phil Spector was indicted for murder. And the reason I wanted to get into it is because before he was indicted for murder, like I said, he was a legend. He created what was called the wall of sound that people use to this day. And what the wall of sound was, basically back in the day when they would record, a lot of times they just record live. They just have everybody play and they'd record it. And that was how it was done. And every once in a while they'd throw like a second guitar in there or something like that. They'd edit the tape with maybe another snare because that snare didn't sound good. They would edit that way. But what Phil Spector did was he would layer instruments. So he would have 3-4 guitars playing the same exact thing. And this is what people do to this day, is layer their tracks, layer their music. I do it when I record. Like, it's something that wasn't done before he invented it. And it made the music just sound so much more full, and it almost sounded like an orchestra, even if there was only guitar, bass, drums. And he was the inventor of all this. And he had over 50 number one hits that he produced. And he worked with people like John Lennon. He worked with the Beatles on their Let It Be album. He had The Long and Winding Road was produced by him. You Lost That Love and Feeling by the Righteous Brothers was his. So these are all amazing songs that he produced. So he's a legend. And he was also very mentally ill. He was always self-conscious about his height, but looking it up, he was like 5'7", 5'8", which isn't really short, but he was always self-conscious about that. He lost his hair really young, so he was self-conscious about that. So he used to wear wigs. And it wasn't like he'd wear a wig to where it matched, him. He'd wear different wigs. He'd wear women's wigs because he liked how they looked. But he was just kind of weird that way. And he was very self-conscious. He used to drink a lot. He had mental illness. They say he was possibly bipolar. So this one night, let me start over. He actually got kind of crazy when he was drinking, and he decided to quit drinking. So he stopped for about 3 years. And this one night he decided to go have a drink. This was February 3rd, 2003. He decided to go out and have some drinks. We went to a couple bars, had some drinks, and he ended up at the House of Blues. And he was in the foundation room, which was kind of like a VIP type room. And this B actress, her name, and I call her B actress because she was kind of proud of that. She did like a lot of B movies. Her name was Lana Clarkson. And Lana Clarkson, her first role, I promise this is relevant. Her first role was in the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And that was with Sean Penn. He played Spicoli. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. She had a small part in it. It wasn't really important. One of the teachers was really weird looking. She was his wife, and she was hot, right? She's this hot blonde. We're like, what happened here? But the thing about Fast Times at Ridgemont High is that's actually where my band What For got our name, was from that movie. Spicoli.
What for?
yeah, because you know
Oh
what I'm
my
talking
god,
about.
that's
Yeah, me
fucking
and Tommy were sitting there watching the movie, and he says, "Why don't you get a job, Spicoli?" He's like, "What for?" And we looked at each other. I was like, "That's a pretty dope band name. We should call our band What For." And that's where I got the name from. Was from Spicoli. So that's
Oh,
why I
that's
wanted to mention
great.
that. Yeah, that's where the name comes from. What For?
That's
But
fucking. Oh,
um, yeah. So, but anyway, back to that. Lana Clarkson. She she did a lot of B movies. She wasn't really a famous actress, so she met Phil Spector in the foundation room of the House of Blues. Now, to make a long story short, they had some more
don't do it.
drinks. Okay, I'll keep going. Making a long story longer. Let's do it.
Let's go.
He basically invited her. They talked for a little while. She was like, I've heard of you. I know who you are. And she basically was trying to like kind of get away, but he was like, hey, let's go back to my place for some more drinks and we'll have some fun. So between the time they left and the time there was a 911 call, nobody really knows what happened. So it was about 2 hours. They left. There's video footage of him getting into the car and he's stumbling. He's really drunk.
What year is this?
And this is 2003.
Okay.
February 3rd, 2003. Okay. So he's wasted, right? And there's video, surveillance video of him getting into the car. Now, it was like 2.5 hours later, there's a 911 call from his name is Adriano de Souza. That's his chauffeur, okay? And on the 911 call, he's like, my boss killed somebody. My boss killed somebody. Can you please get over here? So when they got there, he was standing there with his hands in his pocket, obviously wasted. They kept saying, take your hands out of your pocket. He kept putting his hands back in his pockets. So they kept telling him, like, stop. And he was like trying to get away. And then he tried to run and they tasered him. And I guess the taser didn't really work. And he was still trying to fight him. And then they ended up tackling him and arresting him. But he was basically like I said, he was an alcoholic. He got sober. But this one night he decided to drink. He was obsessed with guns, right? He always carried a gun. And he always felt like he had to have a gun on him. And he was very like that. Like when he would drink, his ex-wife, she said that when he would drink, he was just crazy. Like he actually trapped her in the house, in the mansion that he had. And he trapped her in the house, like locked the doors from the inside so she couldn't leave. And she would be there for weeks where she couldn't leave. She wasn't allowed to leave. And he was very abusive. It was one of those abusive relationships, the way she described it, that you couldn't leave because you were very fearful that he was going to come after you and kill you, because he always had a gun and he was always crazy. Jeez. And so she was scared for her life. And so when he got sober and he stopped drinking, he started to change and things were beher, because when he didn't drink, he wasn't as bad. But he always had these violent problems when he would drink. So when this finally went to trial, he was saying he was innocent. He was saying, I'm innocent. I didn't do this. She killed herself, he said. Now, none of it makes sense that she killed herself. The gun was his. Okay, it was his gun. How did she find it in a 15-room mansion? How did she find his gun in a drawer? And she was right-handed. The gun was on her left side. Nothing pointed to it. The gun had looked like it'd been wiped off, like it was clean of any fingerprints, but it had like blood on it. Like they found traces of blood on it. So basically what it looked like, she still had her purse wrapped around her shoulder. What it looked like is there was sexual advances. She denied him, and then she tried to leave, grabbed her stuff and tried to leave, but he shot her, allegedly, right? That's what it looked like happened. But at the trial, this guy was like, he was wearing, every time he'd come in, he'd wear this outrageous wig and this outrageous suit. And he was posting things. It wasn't posting because there was no social media huge, like it is now. But he was basically sending it to the news, having his lawyer send it to the news, and the news would put it on the TV. So I sound fucking old. They put it on the TV. They put it on
the television
set.
It
on the channel 3, on the television set there. But they put it on TV, and he had this video saying that there's no way I would kill her. She killed herself, and it was just this whole crazy thing. But he ended up being indicted on this day in 2003, or no, it was this day in 2004 is when he actually was indicted for murder. So it's a fucking crazy story, man.
Wow.
Really crazy story.
So did Did anything come out like of the true story? What happened?
They didn't really know. I mean, basically, all the evidence pointed to he shot her. So it wasn't like something that he to the day he died. I don't know the exact day he died, but he died in prison. And from the all the way through till the day he died, he said he was innocent, that she killed herself. But every little bit of evidence pointed to that she was shot, and they were the only ones there besides the chauffeur, who was he was in the car, right? So, and then when he heard the gunshot, he came in and was like, "What's going on?" And that's when he made a 911 call.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I think my," and then on the 911 call, he says, "I think my boss killed someone. My boss killed someone." So
It's hard to retract
obviously,
that.
yeah, it's like, obviously they're the only ones there. It's the three of them. And there was no way that like the chauffeur had anything to do with it. And with his history of having guns and his history of everything that, his violence and stuff like that, it was obvious that he did it. I mean, all the evidence pointed to it.
Dude, it seems I'm looking at his wiki right now, and the photo from his wiki, and then just basic photos of him in a trial.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Lana Clarkson was a beautiful woman. This guy has been fucking ugly his entire life.
Yeah, yeah.
So
and he was very self-conscious about that. Yeah, and that's why he was such an asshole, because, which I guess you can talk about mental health if you're being picked on. But if you look at pictures of him when he was younger, because he was also, I believe he was also the youngest producer to have a #1 hit, something like that, or a gold record. I can't remember exactly the stat, but he was like the youngest producer to do that, and he was like 19.
Oh, he looks pretty good right here.
He looks good when he's younger.
Yeah, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, he looks really good. Yeah, but then once he got older, I think he felt like, oh, I'm Phil Spector. I'm famous. You should come back with me and do what I want, right?
Oh, man,
but obviously he was wasted, and so he figured he could do whatever he wanted with her. So yeah, she was a beautiful woman. Like I said, she was, she was doing all these movies, and people knew who she was, but she was doing these B movies on purpose because she just felt like that. But at times she felt like she should have more. But the B movies were getting her known, and she probably had a good future, but he took it from her.
That's crazy, dude. Fast Time was a good movie, dude, and like I don't remember her from it, just because of key
she had like a
characters.
5-second part. Yeah.
But I mean, to someone that looks like him, to a woman that looks like that, I mean, if you get a shot at a 10, you don't want to give that up. And if you have power, see, dude, what we're talking about is like people with power, at a certain point of power, and sometimes people don't like necessarily want to sign up for these Diddy contracts, but it happens,
Yeah.
And
like you were saying on that podcast you just did, which I don't know if you want to get into.
Let's go.
That was, but
I mean, no, I know. I want you to keep going. If you keep rocking, I don't want to cut you off. This is
no.
Just like,
I mean, like you were talking about fuck you money,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like these people have fuck you money. Like I can do what the fuck I want. Like that's what Diddy was doing. If you want to get into the whole Diddy thing, it's like,
please.
He has fuck you money. So he was just like basically hiring sex workers to, and this is male and female, to either do things in front of him, do things with the person he was with. He was hiring them to just do all sorts of weird shit, and he was masturbating to it. And then he'd join in. But that's what his big thing was. And this was corroborated by numerous people that knew him, that were there, because a lot of things came out of the woodwork when all this started coming out. A lot of people started coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, he did that shit to me, and that's where all these like Diddy parties and all this stuff, the freak offs and all that, that's where all this started coming from. Was now people that knew about it they're like, we're not supposed to talk about this shit because he's got it on video, right? And that's what he would threaten people with. It's like, hey, I got cameras everywhere, like you ain't gonna tell nobody. And that's one of the things that he was doing, is using all this leverage for people, over people, to do whatever he wanted with them and make them come back. He was also using it to help, to boost people's careers. So he would sign people and say, okay, you're going to get signed to Bad Boy, but hey, I'm going to take you over here. We're going to do this. You ain't going to tell nobody. You want to be, you want to be rich and famous, right? You want to be rich and famous? Well, let's go do this, and you ain't going to tell nobody about it. and you're on camera. After it's done, you're on camera. So this is what you want? You want to have that money, that fame? Then you're gonna, play with my beehole for a little bit, and that's what it. Because apparently,
to put it nicely,
he's bisexual, so he liked men and women, and he always married women and stuff like that. But he was bisexual. But I don't know. Like I call him Pete Diddler because that's what. But I mean, and the one thing about him too is like, I don't know if you remember, he came out as Puff Daddy, right? In the beginning, which is like the stupidest name. I know there's a reason for it, but the reason he changed his name was because when Biggie died, it was a tribute to Biggie because that's what he called him. Because Biggie called him P. Diddy. Instead of Puff Daddy, he called him P. Diddy. So I don't know if you knew that. It's a fun fact.
No, I didn't know
that's
that.
That's why he changed it, because he came out as Sean Puffy Combs and Puff Daddy when he first came out. And he was really good friends with Biggie. And I don't know if like that's why Biggie died, because he didn't want to do that shit, so they ended up killing him. I don't know if that's part of it, but that might be like where the shit began, because it's been since like way back in the 90s when he first started getting big, and he started holding all this over people's heads and doing all these. Like Cal Williams even said something like that on the Shannon Sharp thing. He didn't want to start talking about it, but he said that's just shit that's going on. That's when it first started coming out. Was he? Cat Williams was talking about it, but.
Well, did you see the trans person that's on the Biggie video? That's dancing right next to. Oh my gosh, dude! And like Biggie's looking down, like what the fuck? What the fuck? Like what the fuck is that? I mean,
like I know they were friends, and I know he like they talk about how they were like best friends and stuff like that.
Puff,
but, like,
what are you doing? This is fucking crazy.
This is crazy, Puffy.
What the fuck are you doing?
Break the baby.
Stop! What are you doing?
Now you're starting to sound like Arnold. What are you doing?
Right.
Get to the chopper.
Right,
get to the chopper. The police is out. Get to the chopper. Ow.
God damn, dude. When I saw that, because when this thing was all popping, I didn't want to like dive too deep in it, because I was watching a lot of videos from Jaguar Wright. That's like, she went to all these puff parties and shit like that, and she has just been going on YouTube and just hours and hours of just dumping on people, But what my lady always says every time she comes out with a video, she goes, nobody's hit her with a cease and desist.
Right.
Like, why is no one doing it? I'm like, this is nuts. I'm like, I can't believe that any of this could be possibly true. And it even goes deeper that like people are assuming that maybe Jay-Z set this whole thing up and like this investigation on Diddy so he could be the next, like be the mogul of rap,
Well, Jay-Z's like right there with him. Like Jay-Z does the same shit too. I mean, it's all going to come out. I mean, the whole thing with Jay-Z, he's doing the same shit. It's just,
and then
I don't know if
he's married
parties,
to Beyonce. Like, look about that. Like,
exactly.
Innocent Beyonce, fucking Puff Daddy was married to fucking Jennifer Lopez. She's going to testify. Oh my gosh, this shit. Yeah. Like, people, this is an Epstein file all over again. And
dude, there's yes. There's such a correlation between those two. And here's something that I figured out, right? So this is just allegedly, okay? This is just speculation. But look, Epstein was what? He brought all the like politicians and all the like CEOs of businesses and all those bigwigs, right? He brought those to the island and then basically blackmailed them with, they were doing underage kids, and said, "Hey, we got you on video. This is it." Diddy did it with musicians and actors and famous people like that. He's that side of things, right? Mm-hmm. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. It's all blackmail to get people to do what you want, to get people to. And I don't think that they're the ones like I don't think they're the ringmaster. I think they're just the clowns getting it done, right? They're not the ringmasters. There's someone controlling it. Who that is, I have no idea. But there's someone that controls the whole thing.
Like a Squid Games where people are just like watching this shit like transpire.
Yeah. And it could. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's.
It's like Oprah in a black robe with all these like the fucking view just watching.
It's fucking Oprah Winfrey, dude. It's Oprah Winfrey. She's
allegedly, this is just an
allegedly. Allegedly.
She can bury us, people. I can guarantee you, Oprah can't do that. She has that.
Oh yeah,
she has that Hillary power.
Yeah, she does.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but yeah, they're all in on it, dude. Like it's one big club, and none of us are in it. You know, they're all involved together with all that shit. And it's like, I think when they talk about like selling your soul to the devil, right? You hear that a lot, but it's not like Satan, the horns is sitting there going, "Hey, we're signing this contract." It's who is being manipulated by Satan from it. It goes down, like it trickles down to like, you want to call them elites, you want to call them whatever you want to call them. I don't know who it is that's behind it all, but you're selling your soul. So basically you're doing whatever the fuck you want to do. You're getting baby oiled up by Diddy, right? And that's selling your soul. You're signing this contract. You're saying, I'm going to do this. And if I do this, then I'm going to get this. I'll get fame and all this stuff. That's why, and it's not just Diddy. It's like, you hear this stuff with like the Nickelodeon stuff and the child actors, and, you know, Justin Bieber was there with the Diddy thing, and Usher and all them were.
Have you heard? Have you heard Justin Bieber now when he talks, like when he gets emotional about that shit? Like he looks like a beaten down soldier, dude. Like it's fucked up, man.
Why are all these child actors and child musicians and all these people? Why are they all fucked up in the head? Because they've been turned out by people like Diddy. Well, you know, and to get rich and famous, even if their parents set them up like that, even if their parents put them up to it, said, "Hey, do this, it's fine." I mean, what kind of fucking parents are they? They want the money. They want all the shit like that. So,
but if you're not a kid, if you're not a kid and you signed up for this shit, then there's sacrifices, people. You got your sugar daddy. You got what you needed.
There you go. And that's why, like, a lot of them are coming back, like, after years and years. Now they feel normal again. Now they're normal because, and they're definitely mentally fucked up because of it. But like, after years and years of the abuse and being famous, now they fall off, right? And then they come back later and they look like they're just normal people again. You know, I mean, does the contract expire, or does it just end up stopping when they get too old, or when they get, you know, to where nobody cares about them anymore? You know, I don't know. This is all like speculation. This is all just theories, and I still have to go down more rabbit holes. But
I mean, just tie it into any group that you want to. Say like gangs. You know, as soon as you do one thing for a gang member or for the gang, this is just, you know, just throwing it out there, people. Once someone does something for a gang, you are tied in. They own you. It's like once you do that one bad thing, you're tied in. Same thing with like mafiosos, whatever the case. As soon as you start stealing with bad people or start doing just wrong things, it's a slippery slope, people. So like it all these people that are coming out and talking about this now, they all had to pay the price for what they got out of it. It may not even been what they wanted, and they took an L, you know?
Yeah.
And look at Bieber. Bieber is one of the most biggest stars in this entire world. How much do you think that guy had to suffer to get to that stardom?
Yeah.
So it's like, people, you see that shirt from like the Walmart guy that says, you know, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20. Amplify that by your wildest dreams. I guarantee you, if someone showed up to your house with a briefcase with all your wildest dreams, your mind would fucking start thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all I got to do is this one little thing, and I can do that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can let them turn me out for be rich and famous. It's just this one little thing. And then it continues and continues. Because I've heard stories where like they said, yeah, just do this one time. And then, oh, you know what? Well, do you got to do it again? Well, you got to do it again. And it goes on for like a year, and then nothing ever happens.
Because they own you.
Yeah.
They own you.
Yeah, because they own you. After that, they own you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
I'm telling
and
you,
just
like,
sit there and wait and wait and wait.
When I was with my group in the early 2000s, if someone came up to me and said, hey, I can get you signed and we can guarantee you a Grammy in like 5 years, what are you willing to do? I'm like, fuck, my early 20s for my family right now, pretty much fucking anything. Like,
I'm grabbing my ankles.
Yeah, my pants are already down. Like, he's like, oh, okay, whoa. You know, but that's how we have to look at it. And we can think like, because now we're older and we're like, we're more experienced and shit. But at the time, it's like, it's hard for me to differentiate my younger self to now, because it's like, wow, you were way different. Like, you were kind of like that person, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I try to look at it on both sides of the table and come up with like a middle ground. And sometimes some of this shit just, like I said, you know, Dick, dude, this shit fucking doesn't make sense, man. Like this,
Yeah.
Like the stuff that people do to one another for their own pleasure. It's like, this is absolutely crazy. And it's not like,
It really is.
like I was saying with politics, it's not like just what you feel about this politician to this. No, this is like extreme, like, wow, we are totally different what you are doing. Like from my bedroom experience to just turning off the light and setting some music on to you guys have thousands of bottles of baby oil and like fist parties, that's fucking nuts, dude. Like I never thought in
Yeah.
my wildest dreams to ever think that, but this guy is having full blown fucking weekly parties of this shit. And
Yeah.
fucking blackmailing people at the same time, which I would never do to anybody. And this guy has celebrities in a flip book of fucking digital fucking videos of nastiness.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
crazy, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't even think we know the half of it though. I think it's all going to come out. Like it's just because more and more, it seems like every day more and more
Someone's going
shit's
to off
coming
him,
out.
dude. Someone's going to off him
Oh yeah.
before he starts leaking some
Yeah.
shit out, dude.
Yeah.
It might
Yeah.
be be J-Lo.
Yeah. It could be. Diddy didn't kill himself. He said it here first.
She's like, I don't want to go back to Ben Affleck. I can't do this again, so please don't leak that.
Exactly.
He wasn't a good Batman.
He was not. He was not. Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton
Michael
is the
Keaton
best
for life.
Batman, and
Yes, 100%.
and Robert Pattinson is the most underrated Batman. That fucking movie was
Actually,
so good.
I agree. I agree. I was like, emo fucking Robert Pattinson Batman. Like, this is lame. And I watched the movie. It was fucking good.
It was a good
I have
movie,
to-
dude.
Yeah. I can't stand the twinkle vampires. Like, I really don't like that shit. But that, I mean, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. Like that bullshit, I couldn't stand any of that. My kids love that stuff, and it's like whatever. But so I was like, I gotta not judge people by that. So I was like, I gave it a chance. And that dude's actually not a bad actor. Like he was really good in that movie.
He did one little useless thing about that movie, the fight scene where he fights all the clowns and shit, like all the people that are dressed up as clowns and stuff in the subway.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
That was an homage to the Super Nintendo Batman Returns game where all the clowns were fighting like almost in this like the same scenery. They almost look exactly
Oh, I
the same.
fucking
with the
love
clowns.
that. I love those games.
Right?
Yes, I didn't notice that. Yeah, I didn't put that together.
When
but
I
yeah.
saw that, I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking Batman Returns with the Penguin on Super Nintendo. That was fucking perfect.
Yes.
Bam.
Yes, I love those games. I even love like the newer ones that came out. Like
Like
the
the
Arkham
Arkham-
Asylum game. Yeah,
Yes.
those games are fucking badass. But I used to play that on Super Nintendo too.
I think right now the games are so similar. It's like these companies are hiring great writers because the stories are like you're more engulfed in the story than the actual gameplay. I'm like, I just can't wait to see the next fucking cutscene. Like I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption right now just because I'm still upset about the main character in that game. I'm just like, it's so good. Like the whole story, the whole game is so great where you can beat it and go back and just go through all these other storylines of different people throughout different towns. It's so much into these games. It's not like your pixeled video games like what we grew up on, dude. Like Duck Hunt, where it's
Yes.
like a fucking duck came out, 3 ducks came out. You're like, I gotta get one of them, and then a
Just
dog
hold it to
picked
the
it up.
screen.
Yeah, that was it.
Blah, blah, blah. I got
Yeah.
you, motherfucker.
These guys are like full blown scripts, actors that have to do these voiceovers. This is crazy, dude. Like nuts.
Yes, definitely. I love that
Huh.
game though. That Red Dead Redemption. I love it.
It's part like
It's so good.
besides like Zelda is one of the most iconic games I think for me. Red Dead and like God of War like are the best storylines ever. Like by
I haven't
far.
played God of War. I've been wanting to though.
Dude, don't do it, dude. If you're gonna, you have to start from the very first game, like the first like main.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you have to start from the first PS. Like, cause you can't just like watch Game of Thrones like in episode or season 3. It's like no,
Yeah,
you
you have
can't
to
do
start
that.
from the beginning. Right,
Yeah,
right.
You're not. None of this is gonna make sense. So,
Gotcha.
but it's like you kind of have to like get rid of the PSPs and all like game and all that shit like that. You just do it from like the PlayStation, setup. Like that was like
Oh,
what you
okay.
want. That's what you can literally play all those games and everything's fine. All the other story shit on the side, like the PSP games, no big deal. It's just whatever's, just fillers.
Okay.
But it's like the storyline to now, I'm like, oh my God. Like they're going to the next game that's going to come out in a couple years. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because they may go to like the next levels, may go to Egypt. Because now because God of War is based off of Greek mythology in the very beginning. And then it went to Norse culture. in the
Mhm.
following saga, and now they're thinking once that's done, they're gonna go to Egypt and go in like the pyramids and shit and like fight
Oh,
Pharaoh
dude,
and stuff. I'm like, oh god,
that's
dude,
fucking
my
cool.
dick is so hard thinking about it. Sorry. It's so good, dude, because people just write such good shit now. And the fact that people think that AI is going to take over like music and like movies and stuff is no, you're going to see the glitches like you saw on my podcast yesterday. It's like, it's apparent, you can't take away humans and what we have done to now, you just can't,
Yeah,
we do it
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
So,
Truth.
all right. Well, hey man, should we give them I think we were going to do a top 10 base list. Is it okay, let me ask you this. Is it like our favorites on this list or just like we look up numbers like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense why that person should be the tops."
I think it's who you think is, I would say favorites, and I would say skill level. Um, yeah, all of that. I wouldn't say just like if you don't know who this is, you just think they're really, good basis. You don't actually listen to their music. I would say don't put them on there unless
Right.
you can explain why. Um, and that's like my list is all people that I've listened to like numerous times that I love, and I love their style. I love how they play, and they're very skillful. That's what my list is. So um,
Would you like to go
I
first,
don't.
sir?
I can go first. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Okay, so I got a top five list. I just did top five because after I got to the bottom, I was like, I'm just kind of throwing people in here that I don't really, you know. I mean, I can say like an honorable mention. Mike Dirt from Green Day. I think that he's good. I like his style, but like it's not really one of my favorites. Like I was starting to just throw people in. So my top, I got top five, and I was like, I love every one of these bass players. Where like when I hear them, I'm like, it's them, and I love it. My number five is Lemmy. Let me tell you a joke. Who would win a fight between Lemmy and God?
Lemmy is God.
Lemmy is God.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
also from Airheads, people.
Yes, it was from Airheads.
Trick question. Lemmy
Lemmy,
is God.
trick question. Lemmy is
And he
God.
shuts the door on him and
Yes,
shit. That's
yes,
great,
but
dude.
so
Steve Buscemi,
Lemmy,
people.
yes, I love that movie. But yeah, so Lemmy, Motorhead. If you guys who don't know who Lemmy is, if you don't know who Lemmy is, then fuck you. But Lemmy from Motorhead, just the way he plays with his microphone way up top, and if you really listen to the bass and like their most famous song, Ace of Spades, but all their music, if you really listen to how good he is, he's playing so fast and he's so skilled and he's singing at the same time. Lemmy's God. Like, I mean, there's no one better than Lemmy. And when he would say shit about like, he was talking about like, what was he talking about? Like rock, new metal, like rock from like the early 2000s. And he said it was a bunch of crap. I was like, well, Lemmy said it, so it must be true. But I love this stuff. So, but I'd be like, fuck all that shit because Lemmy said it's shit. But Lemmy is number five on my list. I mean, number four would be Flea.
Hey, I don't want to cut you off because I kind of have something set up from my end and I don't want to rob you of it.
Okay.
So let me bring this up for these people real quick. So what I did with my list is I actually have little samples of the basses that I chose just so people can kind of get an understanding. And I'm bringing up the Ace of Spades right now. So if people don't know who Lemmy is, we're going to fuck your mind up real quick. Here we go.
Ugh. Jesus.
People, that's hard to fucking play and sing at the same time.
It's not easy. Yeah, and he's got his microphone way up high. And it's just the way he's the only one that does that. It's like, watching Lemmy play is, I mean, gosh, it gives you chills just watching that dude. Love it. But like I said, the next one would be Flea, of course. I mean, Flea is just iconic when it comes to like rock and roll bass players. I mean, he's just amazing. And not only is his playing, but it's his style and the way he is on stage, just his whole persona. He has to be, on my list. I didn't know if I was going to have him higher. I felt like he was, when I looked at who my top two are, I was like, okay, no, he's definitely on my list. But Amazing. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea would be number 4. Play a clip.
Which song do you want, my
I'm
friend? There's so much good shit. Like, I'll show you a demonstration of a slap bass.
About is slapping. You don't appeal to you.
Here, actually, let's do Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And the second half of this technique is the pulling up. There's you pop down with your thumb.
If you guys don't know
and then you pull
anything
it up
about
with,
Red Hot Chili Peppers, let's do the most iconic song.
Listen how it flows with the guitar. It's so beautiful.
That's another thing about. I don't want to get rid of all this. This is like one of the most beautiful songs ever written, and it's about him doing drugs under a bridge.
Yeah, it is. It is.
What my buddy was saying last night, the music historian, he was like, if you are in a band and your drummer sucks, your whole band sucks. On top of that, if your bass player and drummer sucks, you might as well get off the fucking stage. If your drummer is great, then your whole band is going to be fine. You know?
Yeah.
It's so crazy, but if you have a really good bass player and a really good drummer, it's like you can be dog shit at everything else because those people will keep you good. And what Flea and Chad Smith do with Red Hot Chili Peppers is just perfect flow, like you were saying.
It is. And yeah. And the rhythm section of a band, that's what they call it. That's why it's like one piece, because they have to be in sync. They have to be playing together. And that's when you're in a band, you I guess people that aren't in bands don't realize that, but that's what they call it, the rhythm section, because they are one instrument. They have to be in sync. And if one of them sucks, then they're not going to be. If one's just playing along with the guitar, then you're not going to have a good band. You're going to have a shitty band. And that's why the way Flea plays with not only playing along with like the guitar in that song and like most of the songs that they have, but how him and Chad are together, he's doing both. And the way he does it makes it flow. The bass lines he writes, it's just so perfect. And that's why I love Flea so much. It's just, and then plus the way he is on stage is just, and who he is just he's so charismatic on stage, and that's part of my list too.
Beautiful, dude. Keep going, baby.
Number 3, and the reason I put this person on the list was because when you hear this person playing bass, when you hear the sound, you know who it is. You know what the band is, okay? And I have not heard a bass sound like this.
I think I already know who you're going to say, dude, but go ahead.
I don't know. I'm talking about Tool. I'm talking about Justin Chancellor, okay? This is, when you hear him play, you play the song Sober.
Yep.
And you hear that bass line come in, bam, 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 bam. Like, in every song that Tool has, like you hear him playing bass, you know it's Tool, and it's not A Perfect Circle or Pussifer. When you hear Maynard, you know it's fucking Tool, and that's because of the drums and the bass. And you hear you hear Justin Chancellor playing bass, you know who it is. You know this is Tool. Yeah, listen to that.
People, we're giving you eargasms right now. You're welcome.
Oh, God. It's just something about the sound of his bass, and it's through all the music. It's like...
You know, this person isn't on my list, and I don't know if he's on your list, but talking about these bass players that kind of flow with the drummer really well, I can't help but think about fucking Fieldy from Korn.
Yes.
You know, like he wasn't on my list, but just think about that.
But he was on my list, but I think, but not 1 or 2, but he was like, I had him at like 8 or 9. He was definitely on my list, but yeah, definitely. He does the same kind of thing, and you can definitely tell his bass his bass sound as well. When you hear, a Korn song, he's very that slap, he has a distinct sound.
He has a distinct sound like the drummer for 311 with this piccolo snare. Mm-hmm. You can always tell a 311 song based off the snare.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, sorry about that, dude. Got some
That's okay.
tool for y'all. Yeah. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So then number 2, I mean, my number 1 and number 2 were, number 2 is probably who you were thinking I was talking about, because I think, honestly, he's like probably the most iconic bassist ever, Les Claypool from Primus.
Yep.
And the reason, and he's on everybody's number 1, but for me, he made number 2, and I'll tell you why once I get to number 1. But he's probably the best bass player there ever has been. And I heard a story that he actually tried out for Metallica. I don't know if you heard that when Jason Newsted left, he tried out for Metallica, and they're like, "Dude, you're too good for us. You don't fit the style, bro. Like, hey, come on, you're too good for this band."
I actually heard that from I was watching the Some Kind of Monster thing.
Right.
Because I hate Metallica, but every time that documentary comes on, I can't help but just sit there and watch it
I love documentaries like that. Yeah, even if I don't like the band that much, I love watching music.
That's probably one of the best ones ever done. Like I did watch that one too. It was great. So, but they said that about him, and then I listened to something about Les Claypool, and he goes, "I don't really." Hold up for a second. My lady's fucking watching like a horror movie right now. Give me 1 second. Yo, dude, you're fucking rumbling the house. Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Phew, okay. I'm sorry.
Les Claypool.
Primus. Okay, so what? Oh yeah, then Les Claypool said like, I didn't believe anything they said. Like I thought they were lying. They were just pulling my chain. But I heard that from multiple musicians that said like, yeah, that fucking guy was too good for this group. Like,
yeah, he did an interview, and Les Claypool did an interview. He was like, yeah, I tried out for him, and they said you don't really fit in with us, and that's what he said about it. But Metallica had said that this guy was way too fucking good for our band. He was just really. But I guess his style really didn't fit the band. So, but his buddy told him, "Hey, Metallica needs a bass player. Why don't you go try out?" And he went and did it. So.
Another thing about this guy is that Les Claypool doesn't tune his bass like standard or even a half step up or down. Every single string is tuned to something different where he can just go all over the place with different sounds. It's actually quite intriguing.
He does things with the bass that nobody does. And nobody even tries to do, because it's amazing.
Well, listen to this. Like, whoever thought this would actually be good? And this fucking song is epic.
It's so epic.
If you listen to this shit when he played this on the 94 Woodstock, they fucking went crazy. No, it wasn't 94. It was the 2000 Woodstock. That was the one they were in. And then when they played this song,
this song live is amazing. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, Wynona's Big Brown Beaver. Wynona's Big Brown Beaver. That's like, Winona had a big brown beaver, and she stuck it up in the air. So, So, okay, we ready for number one?
We are, sir.
Okay, so
who's better than Les Claypool?
Well, skillfully, I don't know if he's better, but in my book, he's the best player of all time. Motherfucking Matt Freeman from Rancid.
Oh
yes.
Gosh, what's a
you
good
listen to him? You listen to him play like solos. You listen to him play anything, like his running bass lines when he's playing ska, his punk rock bass. It's always something. But like if you listen to their first album, it's just like all the bass lines on there are just crazy. The whole song is bass line. It's not guitar. It's all bass. Like the songs are bass heavy, and the bass runs the song, not the guitar. You listen to anything off the first album. You listen to
is that like
Rats
Let's
in the
Go?
Hallway. No, not Let's Go, and it's just called Rancid. It's their self-titled, and Rancid's like my favorite punk band of all time. They always will be, and that's part of the reason why I picked Matt Freeman for number one. But like you hear him play like Rats in the Hallway. That's a good one.
Okay.
Or his bass solos are crazy, but and then. Listen to this. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Or play
so fast.
Play Journey to the End of the East Bay. Journey to the End of the East Bay, that one, the beginning of that song. I tried to learn it. Listen to this. That album is,
dude.
That's my favorite album of all time.
From us being like punk being in punk bands and shit like that. I'm telling you right now, writing bass licks like that is so fucking hard to think of. It really so is hard. And these guys are just like, it's like, oh yeah, it seems so simple, but it's so hard creatively to write punk basses. It really is, because most punk is just all power chords anyways, and the bass and drums carry the song pretty much.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, but he's so, in my eyes, he's just the best, not just awesome. Punk rock bassist, but like just the best bass player of all time. He's amazing.
Wow.
He doesn't need to sing though. I hate when he sings, I'll tell you that. He sang a lot on the first album and he's terrible. But once they got Lars and Lars started doing most of the singing with Tim, it was like, okay, good. Matt can stop singing now because he's terrible. But yeah, his bass playing is the best.
So is this a true statement? I don't know if you know this or not, but I heard that Operation Ivy stopped playing because they were about to go mainstream.
That has to do with that. They were getting too popular too fast and it wasn't what they wanted. And it really messed with the guys, with Jesse, especially the singer, and with Tim Armstrong. And Tim was getting really heavy into drugs too. He was doing heroin. And Matt, Matt, and I honestly can't remember the drummer's name off the top of my head, because he came into Rancid on their first album, and then they got some different drummers, and then they ended up with Brandon Steinecker, who used to be with The Used. But it was basically Tim was getting he didn't mind the fame, but he was getting heavy into drugs, and Jesse was like really. It was like hitting him hard as far as like they were getting too big too fast, and he didn't want that fame. He was just a punk rock kid. And so Jesse left the band, and they tried to keep going, but Tim's drug use was terrible. And as the story goes, and Tim's written songs about this many times, is that he was living on the streets and just doing heroin. And Matt Freeman went to him and said, look, we got one more shot, dude. Like we need to try this one more time, and let's get you clean and start another band. And so Tim got clean, they started Rancid, and it was Tim, Matt, and a drummer. And they started Rancid, and the rest is history. Rancid's been around since 92, 94, I can't remember. And that's how it happened. Like they quit because of the fame, and because the fame was getting to Tim. He was partying too much. And Matt Freeman basically went to him and saved his life, and the rest is history. Rancid is who they are today because of that.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Dude. That is amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Good list, dude. Good list, man.
Thank you. I'm excited about your list, dude. I'm ready for it.
So I was like struggling with the top 10, to be quite honest with you. Okay. So I got around, looks like, I got 7. I got 7 right now.
Okay.
Actually 8, because I didn't throw my number 1 in there. So I'm going to get the number 1 out of the way because you had him on your list. Primus's Les Claypool is the best bass player I feel of all time. Like he's fucking awesome. But before I get into this list, my buddy was talking to me last night and he goes, dude, regarding your list, he's like, is it about popularity? Is it about skills? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I guess it's kind of our favorites. And he goes, have you heard of the Wrecking Crew? And I'm like, no. Have you heard of the Wrecking Crew, bud?
I haven't heard of the Wrecking Crew, no.
So the Wrecking Crew was a group of hired musicians that you can probably trace some of the most iconic, like radio, television, music produced of all time, dating back from the 60s and 70s. And these studio musicians were called the Wrecking Crew. And this bass player, he's like, dude, you need to look up this girl called, let me see, I don't fucking forget her name, Carol Kay, I believe. Yo, her name's Carol Kay. He goes, dude, this chick is probably one of the best bass players you'll ever hear, and you don't know nothing about her. And I looked her up, dude, and it made me think about my list. I'm like, man, is it popularity? Should I give these guys more credit than what I am? But this chick is amazing. Listen to this chick, dude.
Buy that record.
Hold on. She's like 70 right here, dude. Hold up.
Go and see.
I'm trying
Ton
to
of TV.
trying to find a good clip for you, but it's showing all of like her music, dude. And she was just going crazy on this bass.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Okay, it didn't. I was thinking the Wrecking Crew was like a band. Like, no, I know who you're talking about. She was like a hired gun.
Yeah, the hired guns.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she was a hired gun. Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. Yes, yes.
So
yes.
I'm like,
I know who you're talking about.
It put my list to like it really made me think. So I stayed up like hours more than what I needed to last night. So,
right.
But it made it interesting because I really had to think, what I wanted, what to put on here. So I kind of like went through like my music and kind of going through all these artists. I'm like, what really tickles me? Because whatever I have in my phone right now is the only thing I'm listening to right now. I don't need to venture out outside of that because I'm not listening to it. But what started off my list, and I think it's quite interesting if you're like a punk, old school punker or like pop punk, whatever. This bass beginning is iconic, and you'll know right off the top. Mm-hmm. I guess you can say this is going to be my top 8. At number 10 or number 8, whatever, is going to be Mark Hoppus of Blink-182. And you want to talk about monumental like bass lines? This one is my ultimate, and it's not even on an album that most people know about. It's from the Cheshire Cat album. This is a song called Carousel.
Yes, Carousel. Yeah.
So another thing about Blink-182 that you might not know about and Mark's playing is that he does a lot of strumming. Like he's strumming the strings to make that sound. And you don't hear that in punk or pop. You don't. You need clarity because it's already muffled and fucked up anyway. So
yeah.
So he was the first one to kind of like, I really enjoyed his bass playing, even in like, like the Dude Ranch era, like, cause this was all like Cheshire Cat and Dude Ranch was all, before Travis Barker.
Yeah.
And the songs had to be good, and they got good off of their songs with really shitty drumming. And then Travis Barker just put the cherry on top, and it's like, now they write epic songs. It's not like they write good songs. They write great fucking songs now. So
yeah, it's going back to what you said before of having a great drummer. They had a good drummer. He was okay. But when they got Travis, it was just like they got a great drummer, and that put everything together for them. I mean, my favorite album is Dude Ranch, so I just love how that is. I just love that album. I just remember listening to that with my brother and stuff like that's my favorite album. But like the other ones, I give a lot of credit to. Like they got better, when they got Travis because he's a great drummer, and then they started changing their style up a little bit, but it was still them. Yeah, totally.
Side note, do you know how Travis Barker got the gig with Blink-182?
Oh, I know the story, but go ahead and tell it.
So one of my favorite ska groups of all time, he was playing for. They are called the Aquabats.
The Aquabats, yes.
And he was called Baron Von Tito, and it was only in one album, was called The Fury of the Aquabats. And if you listen to that, it is the best produced ska album you'll ever listen to. It's so fucking good and funny at the same time because they're more like kid friendly. So they were having a show with Blink-182, and they must have either fired their drummer or the drummer couldn't make it. I think they were already like on the verge of kind of like getting rid of this drummer and stuff. And they asked Travis to learn the set before the show. He learned it and never went back to the Aquabats.
I did not hear that.
Yes. Like he filled in and never went back to the Aquabats. And then boom, this is what we have.
Wow.
All the small things. You get that, people. So that's my number 8, Mark Hoppus. The next, besides one or two people, you're probably not going to know any of these people to the folks out there. I hope you know, Dick. I hope you know some of these people.
I probably do.
My next person is Noah Hill from the band Parcels. And I was introduced to this band like 8 years ago. And it was like during the big Tame Impala indie rock movement. Tame Impala has been around forever, but I wasn't a big fan of like indie rock music at all. But as soon as I heard this bass line in the song, I was like, holy shit, dude, this guy has skills. And I listened to this Parcels album at least once a quarter, just so I can like get the head bobbing again. I'm like, man, I love good bass lines, you know, because you just don't hear them. They're muffled out, you know, majority of the time. But this bass line for the beginning of their song, Tied Right Up Now, listen to this, dude.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, dude, it's just so great.
Hell yeah, that's funky as shit, dude. I love that.
That's so great.
Wish I was on video, dude. You see me dancing right now, dude. That was badass, dude. I love it.
Yeah, so it's like we were talking about at the very beginning, like as the consumer of music and someone that can't play this shit at all, I get sucked in to this type of feels. And like you were just saying right now, like you're like dancing on the other side of it. And you don't even, you know, this is the first time hearing it. And it takes a good drummer and it takes a good bass player that can get the groove set. So Noah Hill, you are my number 7 with your band Parcels.
I have never heard Parcels. I'm going to go check them out. I wrote it down.
Yeah. And then one of my favorite groups of all time is a no singing group, just all instruments. It's a band called Pliny. And the bass player, his name is Simon Grove. This guy is like the feels. You want this guy, you just want him to just be in the background and fill all the, like tickle you without knowing he's there, like Diddy in you, but like in a good way, you know, that type of feel. And he does it best with Pliny. And this music, I hear this song all the time. Like I play it on rotation, and this certain part where it gets to, like, it almost makes me cry because it's so good, you know? And it's just because I'm a huge fan, and obviously I'm biased and shit like that. But this listen, just like how
Oof.
no lyrics, just feels.
That's some crazy odd like time signatures there. That's crazy,
Dude.
That's good. What is that called?
So that's Pliny, and the song's called Ember.
Pliny. I'm gonna check that. I don't know these. I'm checking this out.
Yeah. So
Show me some music.
I got you, man. On my next to my list is going to be unfortunately this bass player recently passed away in the last year or so. He was in a band called Dance Gavin Dance. His name was Tim Ferrick, and he sadly passed away from overdosing. But his bass playing was something in like this screamo emo soft singing type rock music that is Dance Gavin Dance. He came up with these really intricate bass riffs that made him stand out sometimes more than the band itself. And when people found out he died, like everybody was like fucking heartbroken, you know, like, wow, what
I heard about that.
Like, what is their music going to sound like without that guy's mind behind it? You know, and I'm kind of still curious because the last album, Jackpot Juicer, I believe it's called, it was like my favorite album from them. Like, and I've been a fan from them for like 10 years. But their song Count Basie, I guess that's how you say it, Basie. This is one of his key bass licks that just made me fall in love with him from the very beginning. Oh, no. You don't get an ad. You don't get an ad. Not from Disney. I will get sued. I have to be super quick, people, when we're on YouTube. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I like that.
It's funky, dude. It's just,
it's funky.
It's really funky bass riffs. I'm a big fan of playing with your fingers on a bass. It just gives more
Yes.
of like a smoother sound. But in a
Yes.
sense of music like this is exactly the tone you want, like almost exactly, to
Yes.
kind of like break through all the screaming and all the odd sound effects that are being put on the guitars in the background. You need that type of bass to just bring clarity to it.
Yes. That sounds really good.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
heard about that. My daughter told me about that one. She loves Dance Gavin Dance, and we were talking about
sweet.
that a little bit. Yeah.
So Tim Farrick is my was my next on the list, and then the next few is kind of interesting. I have Prince
Yeah.
as my next bass player, so that's what I should have numbered these better. But so what is it? We're at 8. We're at 5, 6, 5 is Prince. Prince can play like 15 fucking different musical instruments, not like good to like perfection.
Yes.
And if you ever go back and watch the best Batman movie of all time with Michael Keaton,
Michael Keaton.
he produced that entire soundtrack of Batman, and most of the bass lines in there is him playing funky slap basses that will rattle your balls if you are a male. Like seriously, it is that
Yeah.
fucking good. And we don't even give I don't even give him that credit, to be quite honest with you, because there's been so many Batman movies in between that, and I don't even think about the soundtrack. But if you listen to that soundtrack, they have key songs in that fucking soundtrack that people still to this day remember. It's crazy
Yeah.
to me, dude. And Prince produced it. Everything from drums, everything you can think of, Prince can probably do it better than you, probably.
Yep.
So
I agree. I feel like Prince will be on every one of your top lists.
it's going to be really hard to like get him off, dude, to be quite honest, dude, unless it's going to be like a female list, and that's probably the only time he'll lose. But
Yeah, put him on there anyway. Who cares?
So
Number one is Prince,
Right,
top
and
female vocalist.
Phil Spector in the trial of 2004.
There you go.
So my next artist is from a band you may know this group that actually blew up in the past like 5 years with really odd timing and crazy guitar licks that most people can't even compute in their head. He plays for a band called Polyphia, and the guy's name is Clay Gobber. His bass playing is like kind of like you want that smooth feel, like kind of like I gave you with the Pliny, but this guy does shit that flows with the drums but shouldn't be there, and it works. It was crazy. So when I heard this song, Crush, he does more crazier shit now with his new music, but this is what made me fall in love with this group, but mostly fall in love with this bass player. Check this shit out. This song is called Crush.
Oh yeah, those underlicks. He just like, yeah. Oh yeah.
And then he just follows. Doesn't have to do anything else crazy. Just understanding that
Yeah.
you can go crazy in a song, and then when you need to stop and just relax. That's very hard for
yeah.
musicians that have ego. And this whole band with Polyphia, that all these musicians sound is like the equivalent of Rush, like the musicianship, and everybody knows their place, and it just flows so well. And I fell in love with this group like 7 years ago, and I can't wait to see them live. But they're selling out everywhere because their music's just blowing up. It's crazy, dude.
That's great. Yeah, that sounded really good. I never heard them either. God, I gotta get with it, man. I'm just too old. I just listen to the '90s shit. That's it. Like anything past 2005, it's like I don't really listen to anymore.
Well, I mean, to summarize my list, I had Flea, and then I had Les Claypool to do my my 2 and 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
Of course.
but I mean, bass is really hard to really break down. I mean, it truly is, because like I was listening to that Carol K. Oh shit! Hold up, I got to show you something. So talking to my buddy Eduardo, he's like, dude, there's this guy named Jocko Pastorius. He's like an old school bass player. And he goes, dude, this bass player did so many crazy things back in the day that you couldn't even categorize him. Like his music was in its own world. And he's like, I had to send you the intro to this video because I want you guys to have like a raw reaction on it and just see what you guys feel about it. Just the beginning of this bass line. I'm like, sure, I'll check it out. So I have to bring it up right now because I have it on my text. Yeah. Where is he?
And I have heard of Jocko, so yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
Okay, so this song is called "The Chicken," and he just wanted us to hear the beginning of it. This guy was supposed to be put in his own category of music, so I'm actually quite curious to hear this too. Oh, it's like big band, huh? Crazy, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, damn. I like that.
I think that's what he wanted us to hear. Fucking asshole. Okay. This guy's fucking ripping, but listen to how clear those horns sound, dude.
Yeah.
There's just levels. There's levels to everything in life, people. And it's hard for me sometimes to admit that I will never, ever be fucking worthy.
It's true. I've accepted that a long time ago.
Oh,
so.
That was fucking awesome, dude. Like,
yeah,
you're just hearing, when I hear that, it kind of reminds me of like that whole movie Whiplash and shit, and how like that teacher really beat it into like his kids and shit like that to be perfectionists. But that's what you hear. And that's something that person can be proud of for the rest of their life. That's epic. Listen to this shit. You can give that to anybody, say, hey, I'm playing in this group right now. They're like, oh, really? Where are you playing? I would love to have a cocktail and listen to you play. Like, just something like, or like, this is like something you would see at like a speakeasy,
Yeah.
It's like perfect speakeasy music. Oh, listen to that bass line. He's just scaling up and down.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh.
Yeah, and that's that's where, like, when I was talking about Matt Freeman, like that's kind of the stuff that he does, but in like punk. That's what makes it so weird. Is like that's what makes him so different. Is that you play music like that, but you're playing it in punk, and nobody had ever done that. So, but I love that. I love how everything fits. How you play through the scale, and everything fits right, and comes right back to the home, and it just sounds. It just fits. It's like all these underlicks, and it's just, God, that's beautiful. And that's like a lot of jazz and funk and stuff like that. That's what they do. I love it.
Isn't it crazy, people, that your favorite anything or the person you think is the best at doing something, there's always somebody out there that's just a little bit better, and that fucking blows my mind away. It really does. Like, to think that somebody that's better than Les Claypool as a bass player, there's somebody out there that can fuck him up, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And
there's always someone better.
Yeah.
There's always a bigger fish, is what I always say. And I learned that a long time ago when I used to play baseball when I was a kid, and I was always the best. And then I got into high school, and there was this guy that was the same age as me and was 10 times better than me. And I was like, no, I'm the best. And this guy was better than me. He could hit harder, throw harder, run faster. And I was like, no, that's not possible. I'm the best. I was always the best in Little League, and I was always the best player. And this guy was just demolishing me. I was like, that's a thing? No, I'm the best. But there's always going to be someone that's better than me.
Dude, fuck you, man.
Fuck you, man. So that's how I felt when I played this. He was striking me out. I'm like, nobody strikes me out. But yeah, there's always going to be a bigger fish. That's what you got to think about. There's always going to be someone better than you. So just do your best. If you want to be the best, you got to practice and you got to just, but even if you do all that, there's always going to be someone that practices harder than you. So do your level, be at your level. That's what I always say. I know that I suck at a lot of things, and
just
I always
enjoy
say,
it. Enjoy what you fucking do.
I know. Yes, exactly. Have fun with it. I always say, I know how to do a lot of things, but I suck at them all. So it's like, but I know how to do them. So.
Oh man. Well, what do you think, bud? You think I think we're good.
I think that's a keeper. I think I love it.
I think it's a good episode, people. I think you guys got a lot of eargasms today, and I think we're going to keep this going.
Hell yeah,
in future shows. How about we do top 5? Let's do top 5s from now on. I think it makes it easier.
Sounds good. Yeah, it makes it easier. I thought about that earlier.
Let's do next time. Let's do top 5 drummers.
Gotcha. Yep, my brain's already going.
The funny that I was telling my best friend Eduardo, who's a drummer. I grew up, playing music in my garage with him. We'd set up boom boxes and record and shit.
Oh yeah,
and
I know Eduardo. Yeah, I jammed with him before too. So
that's right. And
I know Eduardo.
So I told him, like, dude, if we do a drummer segment, I have to put you in my top. And he's like, you're a fucking idiot. He's like, I am not. No. And I'm like, no. Like, you're like monumental to me. Like, how you play and what you did for me means more to me than any of these drummers that I've never met before in my life. So
exactly.
And he's just like,
I agree.
And then he kind of like, he's a very humbled individual. And he doesn't really take compliments very well either. But especially like when it comes down to music, he just respects it so much. He respects the business of it so much where he will never put himself over like anybody that is, I guess you can quote unquote say made, or signed. It sucks because he's just so fucking good.
Oh yeah, he used to post videos, and I remember him posting videos on like Facebook or something like that. I'm like, dude, this guy's fucking good. I remember playing with him back in the day, and he was good then. And I tried to steal him away. I think he was in a band already, but I tried to steal him away, and he couldn't. But yeah, I played with him a few times. I just jamming with him. He's so good, dude. I would put like you said, the people we played with. Like I would put Johnny Phelps, Lyle Riddle. I would put them on my top list. But if we're talking about people that are famous, we'll go with that. But those two guys would be on my top list.
The crazy thing is, like, my old band had played with Eduardo before I had joined. Like, had played some shows with him, and when I joined, we had this drummer who was a drummer for Ministry for about like 5 or 7 years, who eventually became the drummer for Ministry. And I asked my buddy JD, who I'm still friends with today, and I go, who was the better drummer, Aaron or Eduardo? And he's like, and you know how Eduardo is. And he's like, you know what, dude? Eduardo has the fastest hands in drumming that I've ever seen, but Aaron was like creatively one of the best drummers I've ever worked with. And it just like, I was like, oh my God. And it was my best friend, he said too. And I was like, fuck you, Eduardo's the best. But I saw what he was coming from. Like, Eduardo's hands is like God. But when it comes down to what Aaron was doing live, it was like, holy shit, dude. Like, he got the crowd more into it than what we were trying to do, like as the people on stage. So there's just levels, like we were saying, people. And I hope you guys are all enjoying this podcast as much as I'm enjoying it. Like, I look at a recorder and my recording right here, we're at almost 2 hours, and it seemed like it just flew away. It felt like 30 minutes, my guy. It really did.
Yeah. Knew it was going to flow, bro. I love talking to you. So this is definitely a good thing.
So people, I hope you're enjoying out there. Please leave a comment on each one of our platforms with this drops. Tell us what you feel about it. Tell us the likes and dislikes. Tell us what you want us to rate next time. Just be interactive, because we will interact with you on
100%
on our podcast platforms and on Instagram. Come on, people. Follow us on the Minded Dick podcast and on the Conference Call podcast. Let's be a community of fun.
Hell yeah. Support your homies. Support your friends.
There we go. Support your homies. And follow us next time, people, because we will be back. And hopefully, let's work on an intro, dude. Let's fucking make a cool intro.
Yeah, we will. For sure.
So, all right, people. Bro, thank you so much, man. I love you to death. I'm excited about doing the next one.
Love you too, bro. This is awesome.
All right, guys. Everybody, keep positive and stay classy. Peace.
Peace.